Okay, so I wanted to do a video on this, having to do with some things that I've come across in the golden sphere and some associations with lighter skin and things of that nature. It's to me, this is why to me when people talk about like experiences and so forth, it's weird to me because it's like it's not per se because of a it's not per se anything to do with the skin tone or um, specifically hair texture, even in some cases. I just wanted to show this because it's interesting how people relate ethnicity and personal experiences. So let's watch.
I realized several years ago, because that was a perfect time to learn those lessons for myself so I could really internalize them, is that the internet is forever, probably, but it's definitely going to outlive me. And I have to be very careful with what I choose to offer to this platform, and by extension, the larger platform, which is the internet. These are the things that I want to hold sacred and dear to myself. And so I don't vlog pretty much because I don't want to. And to be quite frank, my day-to-day life is not all that interesting, especially.
No commercial, sorry about that.
We got the bond unbreakable.
Sorry about that.
Unbreakable. Shake. Unbreakable. Especially these days, because I'm staying inside because that's the responsible thing to do. I don't vlog because I'm a public figure with a private life. The next question, and I see this a lot in the comments and I see it a ton in my email, is what is my ethnicity? And honestly, in my real life, like in my in-person life, because this is my real life too, I am bombarded with this question. It's a very common experience for me to receive this as a question. I find that maybe it's just the mixture of what I look like, what I sound like, what my hair looks like. My facial features are apparently very perplexing for a lot of strangers. I don't know. A lot of assumptions are made on my behalf, and a lot of curiosity surrounds my ethnicity. The reason I don't answer that question is like kind of admittedly either suspicious or childish, and I'm not sure. It depends on what mindset I'm in that day. So I don't want to answer because why do you want to know? I don't know. I'm just suspicious. That question, it just makes me very suspicious. When I have answered that question in the past, people tend to not believe me, and I don't know why. But where do I get out of lying? Do people lie about their ethnicity a lot? Why do they do that? Why would you do that? I don't know. And I'd like to take a moment to say that there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking pride in your ethnicity. I just don't lead with it. Not to say anyone that I would, be saying that about, but just in case someone's thinking about like a person, like, oh, this person. No, I have no idea who you're talking about. You thought of them, not me. I just don't care. I just don't care to lead with that information. I don't think that it's necessary. I don't think that it's all that informative. I don't know. And I have found that I'm still so unsure of someone's intentions of asking that question. I also find that not a lot of other people, in my experience, get asked that question. For instance, if I'm in a group of girls, because I roll with girls personally, if I'm rolling with my ladies, remember rolling with your ladies? Anyway, when I'm rolling with them, is me. They ask me. And I have like very, like, way more ambiguous friends than me in my posse. I know that different people will have different reasons to ask something. I'm not saying that the motivation to ask this question is a monolith. I'm just saying, would you what is it? That's all I'm saying. I'm owning this, that this is purely my stuff. Not only am I suspicious of someone's intentions of asking me this question, I also, more than anything, my number one pet peeve is being put in a box. I've only ever been me, and I will only ever be me. But in my experience, I have never met someone who enjoys being put in a box. And when someone asks me a question of this nature, it feels as though they are attempting to classify me. And I am very aware that that is not everyone's intention. But in the past, when I have answered this question, very frequently, how that person changes how they interact with me is instant. And I find it very disturbing. Were you asking me this question so you could stereotype me more efficiently? Is that what just happened? Why would they do that? For instance, I was at a Caribbean spot, and a person, a fellow patron, if you will, asked me, "Greetings, madame." Yes, that's exactly what he said. "Prithee, may I procure from you the information that is such? Of what descendants line are thee?" To which I said, "Ah, prithee, right back at you, fam. I am of such and such descendants." To which he promptly retorted, "A blank girl. I know what you are like." And then proceeded to lay on the sauce very, very thick. I don't... Because he came at me with prithee, then when I told him my ethnicity, he switched gears into a way more aggressive moment, which was not... It was so... I don't understand. And then I thought, oh, okay, well, that was weird, but perhaps this is a stereotype I was unaware of that is attached to my ethnicity. But then I attended yet another gathering. This was in 2018, by the way, where we could go outside. I attended yet another gathering, and as such was looking fine as wine. And as I was courted throughout the dance party, another person inquired about my ethnicity. And their reaction to my ethnicity was genuine disbelief, to which I was like, what is happening? Why is my existence such a polarizing one? It's such a strong...
So that's what I'm saying here. It's just like, to me, when people try and say that the experience of people asking people their ethnicity is based on color, I don't think that's specifically it. As you can tell with her, it's a common occurrence. This is a common question. I would say I've seen a lot of people like her who get asked that question. And it's not specific to the skin tone or the hair texture. If her hair is like, I think it's like a 4B. I guess you could say it's technically not 4C hair, but you get what I'm saying. It's not because of her skin tone and it's not because of her hair. But people often will still associate darker skinned people with other ethnicities. So when people try to say the whole thing where it's a light skin experience or a lighter complexion that specifically gets the questions of if they're mixed or not. I don't think it's connected to that. I think it's more connected to facial features than anything, honestly. And I think that can cause people to ask people what their ethnicity is more of the time, regardless of their skin tone, you know. So I kind of just find it like weird. Like sometimes, like the Golden Sphere and like lighter skin channels that are more focused on, I guess, mixed people will associate being asked, "What are you?" with being lighter skinned. I don't think that's really it. I mean, from my experience personally, and I use my experience because um, I'm a brown skinned girl, but I change colors throughout the seasons. So I'm more like Rihanna's color when I am in the winter, around that color. Rihanna, Zoe Saldana, Yara Shahidi, uh, Nicki Minaj, that color. You get what I'm saying? Like a creamy caramel color, technically a little lighter than caramel. They call it pecan or whatever, or peanut, whatever. And I can tan in the summertime because I live in Vegas. So out here we got some tourists. And the tourists sometimes are not used to the deep tanning. And I can tan like really deep all the way to like maybe Gabrielle Union's color. I get the same amount of people asking my ethnicity, regardless if I am at my lighter hues or darker hues. It's got nothing to do with that, more to do with how your face looks, really. So I kind of find it really interesting when people try to say that this has to do with like skin tone or colorism or anything. I think this is important too because the argument of colorism is sometimes held that darker skinned women are perceived as fully black and that lighter skinned women are associated with mixed or biracial. But you can see here, she has a darker hue and she's still perceived as mixed. And this is a thing too because a lot of the time I've seen people, some Golden Sphere channels trying to show her photos and stuff as basically an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman, right? But in her experience, she's not treated like she's an unambiguous black woman. I'm just saying that it's not got to do with color. And this is important when we talk about colorism because people always try and act like there's a benefit to be lighter and there's a disadvantage to be darker because you're perceived as another race when you're lighter and you're perceived as fully black when you're darker. I know this is not true because my mother is what I consider dark skinned. She's like at her lightest. She's like April Jones color, Angela Bassett's color. You get what I'm saying? Like a brown hue. She can tan pretty dark. Um, her body is dark too, in my opinion. Gabrielle Union's color, whatever. So I would consider my mother dark skinned. And she gets the same questions of what her ethnicity is. It's like a day-to-day question for her that people will ask her what her ethnicity is. That's a common thing. So it's like really weird when people try to say that black people are not asked their ethnicity. This is not true. Black people of all shades can be asked that question. And I do think that there is a different experience for people who are asked the question regularly and people who are not asked that question regularly. But yeah, I just wanted to show that. I guess I could show this a little bit longer.
Free. Simple tax returns only. Wrong reaction. And while it's not usually the same reaction, people have such a strong reaction to it. And then they cart me around and tell their friends. It's very strange. It's a very strange reaction. And maybe it's just me. I have fully considered that an option. Do y'all get this? Is this like a thing? Does this happen often? Does this happen to everybody? And I'm just like, this only happens to me. That's my dance. That's my dance of "Does this only happen to me? Do you like it?" This do you like? I have fully looked into the possibility that it is just my combination of factors. Again, my hair, my skin, its deepness, my facial features, my stature. The last thing I wanted to talk about was why I don't do anything I say I will. So,
But yeah, that's basically. I find also that this is relatable, what she's saying about like when you give an answer. And I think it's really smart to not, because a lot of people are, when they ask that ethnicity question, they're just looking, because they're a racist person, they like to label people, basically. And they like to be able to know how to treat someone in a racist fashion, basically, or like in a stereotypical fashion, basically. And that's what they need to do with everyone that they encounter. And the fact that when they see someone they can't really place, they have that issue of basically needing to know their ethnicity, so then they can basically treat them the way they think they need to treat them, because they think they need to treat everyone according to their race because they're a racist person. You know, so to me, I mean, like, I agree with what she's saying here, you know, and it's hard though sometimes, I think, with darker skinned people to even admit this, because a lot of people who are of different hues will have fits when people darker than them are perceived as not specifically black and seen as ambiguous, because they think that it goes in a hierarchy situation. They think that a dark-skinned person should not be asked that question, basically, and they feel very uncomfortable with that. So I'm just pointing that part out. And this occurs not just with dark-skinned people, but sometimes brown-skinned people too. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say in this video. Is just, I think this kind of tells a lot of people and shows a lot of people that, the experience that people talk about with lighter skinned people being asked their ethnicity, yes, it does occur, but I think it occurs across the board. And I also think that there's a lot of people that look like this who will think that a lot of people lighter that may be asked what their ethnicity is and be seen as ambiguous may be confused, because they're like, well, just because they're asked if they're mixed, that's not really a mixed experience, because they have that experience too. Because when people say you have a biracial experience and people see you as ambiguous, well, what's the difference with a lighter skinned person being perceived that way and a darker skinned person being perceived that way, or a brown skinned person being perceived that way? It's all the same experience, just by someone of a different hue. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, comment down below, and have a great day. Bye, guys.